Prabhuji took initiation from Srila Prabhupada. So today is the this year is the 50th anniversary of Prabhuji taking initiation. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! So Prabhuji and his good wife, they serve at Sri Sri Radha Rukmini Dwarkadish Mandir at Los Angeles. And during my very brief interactions that I had with him, I've never seen a more humble and gentle Vaishnava. So this is, as we can see over here, Archita Prabhu came into the movement by getting a book from His Holiness Devamrit Swami way back in 1973, which just goes to prove the power of book distribution, right? So please understand that every book that each of us distribute, either during the marathon or any time of the year, could potentially create a devotee like Archita Prabhu. So this is a very, very glorious. And Prabhuji right now serves at the Rukmini Dwarkadish Temple in ISKCON Los Angeles as the Director of Academic Outreach, and is also a President of the Bhakti Vedanta Book Trust Publishing House at Los Angeles. So we are very, very privileged and honored to have Prabhuji with us. So let us welcome him in our traditional style by loudly chanting 3 times. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Thank you, Prabhuji.
You're very generous. So I face this way, or how do you?
You like a chair? You get it? Chair.
Hare Krishna. You on? Hare Krishna. Is it on? Yeah. I hope that the good Mridanga players are still here. Prabhupada said that the Mridanga is meant to make the hearers, the listeners, dance. So if there's a kirtan and nobody's dancing, it's the Mridanga player's fault. So while I was in my room just now in the guest house, I heard such vibrant Mridanga playing. I was literally dancing in my room. So you have some good Mridanga players here. So I hope they're here. And if somebody can play harmonium, my voice is not the sweetest. So harmonium really helps to make it a little better presentation. Oh, harmonium, I cannot believe it. In this huge congregation here, there's not one harmonium player? Hare Krishna. Okay, now you have something to work on. The youngsters, as you know, in the Vedic culture, both the men and the women, they learn different arts, 64 arts. So playing musical instruments is an eternal occupation. It's not something that was just invented a few hundred years or a few thousand years ago. This is part of eternal life. So everybody, all the youth, should be trained how to play Mridanga, and boys and girls, not just the boys play Mridanga and the girls play something else. No. If you see pictures, and Prabhupada never called these paintings paintings. He said, yeah, you've seen the picture of Radha Krishna. So you've seen the picture of Radha Krishna and Ashtasaki. Somebody's playing Mridanga, somebody's playing kartals. the ladies. So both the boys and the girls should be trained from an early age how to play all these instruments, because this is an eternal occupation. I feel very honored to be here. This is my second time at this Monday here in Chowpatty. And somewhere or other, I don't even remember who gave it to me, but my last visit, somebody gave me a folding picture, one on each side of Radha Gopinath, and I put on my altar at home. So every day I see Radha Gopinath, I pay my obeisances. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radhe Jaya Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radhe Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Goranitai, Jaya Goranitai. Jaya Goranitai, Goranitai. Goranitai, Jaya Goranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Go Premanandi Hari Hari Bo, Jayam Vishnu Pad, Paramahamsa Padabrajak Acharya Asatura Sutta Shri Srimad, ISKCON BBT Founder Charles Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Prabhishta Om Vishnu Pad is Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai, Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Gira Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Brajabhumi Namadam Ki Jai. Shri Namadri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Nilachal Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shrimati Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. It was beautiful Lordship. Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Ki Jai. Shri Nathji Ki Jai. Shri Shri Gauri Tai Ki Jai. Samabeta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Going back to home, back to Godhead Ki Jai. ISKCON Chowpatty Yatra Ki Jai. Brihad Madanga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. International Food for Life Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Mo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Glory to Srila Prabhupada. Where's the Mridanga player? Hey, nobody got up and danced. You didn't do your job. Hare Krishna. So that song that Prabhupada sang before giving class and that we continue the tradition, you all know the song, but you don't know the song. That song is the greatest love song ever written. Who wrote that song? Extra Gulab Jamun. Somebody quickly put your hand up. Who wrote that song? You're singing it every day. Who wrote Jaya Radha Madhava? Bhaktivinoda Thakur, yes. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself revealed his position. If you read his Navadvip Mahatmya, he explains who he is in the spiritual world. So he's not an ordinary conditioned soul. He came here to teach us. And one of the things that he came to teach us was this beautiful transcendental love song. Everybody loves love songs. Even the toughest guys here admit you love love songs. And the potency of those songs, I was just in New Zealand and Australia a month ago. And Devamrita Swami, by the way, I was corrected. I met him on the street in New York. I had just finished my third year of civil engineering. I'm walking down the street. I see a brahmachari, brightly dressed, saffron cloth, at a book table. So I was curious. Who is this person brave enough to walk around New York City dressed like this? This is 1973. Hardly anybody heard about the Hare Krishna. So I bought just a little pamphlet, Krishna, the Reservoir of Pleasure. How many of you read this? Krishna, Reservoir of Pleasure. Such a potent. From the very first line, Srila Prabhupada grabbed me. It says, Krishna, that name is transcendental. Krishna means the highest pleasure. Every one of us is looking for pleasure, but we don't know where to listen. Immediately, Prabhupada grabbed me. Because yes, I was a student in university, but the real job in life was always finding pleasure. Where is pleasure? Where is pleasure? And that's true for any sane person. Only an insane person wants displeasure, wants unhappiness. Everybody's looking for happiness, but we don't know where to look. So I reminded Maharaj of this when I saw him in New Zealand. I said, remember I got the book, and he revealed to me that he was not even initiated yet. He was still a bhakta. So this is the power of Srila Prabhupada's movement. Even an uninitiated devotee, a bhaktin, can go out on the street, distribute books that become a transcendental passport to go back home, back to Godhead. So Srila Prabhupada is literally delivering the whole world with his insistence on distribute book, distribute book, distribute book. So we took that to heart. I had the good fortune of being involved in the book production from a very early part of my Krishna conscious career. I joined in 73. By 74, I was already involved in ISKCON Press. At the time, we didn't have BBT yet. It was still in ISKCON Press. And the reason why they invited me to become part of ISKCON Press is because they were getting ready to computerize the book production. And I was one of the few persons in the movement who knew anything about computers. As part of my civil engineering training, I was learning how to program mainframe computers. Huge room full of equipment. Your iPhone nowadays has more power than those computers did in those days. So I learned, Fortran, PL1, these programming languages. By the time we got around to computerizing the book production, the computer industry had shrunk down to the size of mini computers, which is the size of a modern day refrigerator. So I was programming the mini computer to drive the typesetting equipment for producing Prabhupada's books. Then the next generation was the microcomputers, which came out in the early 80s, IBM PC and then the Mac. So the point I'm trying to make is that technology, Prabhupada said, we're not enemies of machines. We are not. If it can be used in Krishna service, like the example he always used was the microphone. He said, I'm using this microphone to give this lecture, so it's not a material object anymore. Now it's spiritualized. So it's the same thing. We can spiritualize the material energy in any form that it appears before us. Previously, they would just be cutting down trees to make wood and make a podium or something that was used in Krishna service. Now, anything practically that's being made can be used, like our iPhones. This little slab of aluminum with some electronics inside can carry all of Prabhupada's books, lectures, bhajans, anywhere you go. There's no excuse for not being in contact with Srila Prabhupada's teachings, because you can carry everywhere you go. Just sit down and listen. So, all right, let's go down to today's verse. Can you have me my glasses? No, the glasses. Glasses, yeah. Thank you. Anyone here for the first time? One person. Hare Krishna special welcome to first-time visitors. This Sunday Love Feast program was inaugurated by Srila Prabhupada himself. As a young devotee, young devotees, we look forward to the Sunday feast because we ate very simply during the week. Prabhupada's movement was in those days still a very monastic movement, mostly in single men and women, brahmacharis, brahmacharinis, and living in an ashram. And so we ate very simply. Ample, there was enough prasadam. You could get seconds, thirds. Nowadays, I've mentioned everywhere I go because I see it. I travel all over ISKCON world, and I see that because the modern day administrators, the current administrators are usually senior devotees who have controlled their senses, they give dirty looks at young devotees who eat too much. No, Prabhupada said eat, eat. He said eat till you waddle like a duck. Because when you come to ISKCON, generally it means you're giving up all sense gratification to make spiritual advancement. So your only pleasure in life generally is what you eat. And it's okay, it's okay. Controlling the tongue takes time. Yep, the leaders have to give the young devotees time to control their tongues. Don't force them. Let them take time. And Prabhupada set the example himself. We're very fortunate. Such an acharya. Everything Prabhupada set the example. In the early days, 26 2nd Avenue, he was cooking for the devotees. A dozen men and a few women were coming every day. Prabhupada was cooking personally, dal, rice, sabji, chapati. And if you read Lilamrita, there was one devotee's name is Shrayadish. He who had the biggest appetite. He could eat 6, 8, 10 chapatis. So when he got to 10, Prabhupada said, stop. So we have to be tolerant and understanding of the young devotees. It takes time to control the tongue, so let them eat. One of the main responsibilities of ISKCON managers is to provide enough prasadam for the devotees and for guests. That's another area where Prabhupada set the example. No guest should come to his temple and leave without some prasadam. Prabhupada said once, if there is nothing ready, in 15 minutes you should be able to make puri and eggplant sabji. Offer it and give to the guests. So this is Prabhupada's vision, because he knows the power of prasadam. Bhakti begins with the tongue, vibrating Hare Krishna and tasting prasadam. Once you hook them like that, they never get away. Never get away. I'll tell a little story before I start reading. I was in the Potomac Temple. Have you been visited? Yeah. For a few years I lived there. And wherever I go, I like to serve prasadam. So I was serving Sunday Feast prasadam, and there was one Indian gentleman next to me, very, very successful person. And that area where that temple is, anybody else been to Potomac Temple? They say Washington, D.C. Temple, but it's actually Potomac, Maryland. It's about almost an hour from D.C. proper. Anyway, that area used to be all farm country, farmland. And Prabhupada, again, vision, just like he had with Juhu, bought Juhu before it was anything. Same thing in America. He bought these properties before they were anything. So this particular place, 16 acres, was farm country, nothing. But gradually, over time, it became residential area, $1 million mansions. And many of those mansions were, those mansions lived ISKCON members, mostly Indian background. So this Indian gentleman standing next to me said, Prabhu, can I ask you a question? Sure, sure. Said, please explain to me, how is it that we, meaning us wealthy people, are so attached to prasadam, your prasadam? He said, we can make better dal rice puri than you. But yet, we're so attached to coming to the temple and eating prasadam here. Why? I said, you're tasting the bhakti. That's what Krishna reciprocates with, not your expertise. Yes, you should be expert. Like wherever I go, I like to taste the milk sweets, because that's one indication of the level of bhakti in a community, how well the milk sweets are made. So this morning I had rasmalai, rasgulla, some kheer, burfi, sandesh, just a little bit of each. And everything was wonderful, except, and no offense if the person who made it is here, but the kheer was just a little hint of being burnt. Just a little, aftertaste. You taste it and then you taste that burnt taste. Not so bad that it's inedible, but it's there. So making milk sweets for Krishna is a test of your bhakti, devotion. Because you have to concentrate so finely. Just a little bit too much, you ruin a whole batch of burfi or whatever you're making. Right. So this concentration, Prabhupada told us, that is bhakti. Bhakti doesn't mean that while I'm making the milk sweets, I'm thinking about Krishna's pastimes and I burn it. No. Bhakti is concentrating on whatever seva your spiritual master gives you to do, whether it's making garlands or making milk sweets or distributing books. Concentrate. Concentrate. That's love. Concentrating to get the best result, that is love. That is love. Love is not that you're spacing out. And the example they used to give us on Henry Street, where I enjoyed, is that, because we all had to go in the kitchen and help cut up. There were like 100 brahmacharis living in this little building. So he said, please concentrate. Don't space out trying to remember some pastime of Krishna and then you cut your finger and bleed into Krishna's sabji. And then the whole thing has to be thrown away. So that concentration of cutting sabji and not cutting your finger, that is bhakti. The concentration of going out to a particular spot and setting up nicely to distribute books, that's bhakti. You don't have to feel that your hair is standing on end and no, that comes later on. But even when it comes, the pure devotees, they control that. They repress it. They don't want to, because it disturbs their bhakti. You see? Their bhakti is concentrating on some particular seva to please Guru and Krishna. So when eventually those symptoms, Sadvika Bhava, comes, the devotees, they want to suppress it. They don't want to sit there and enjoy hair standing on end and tears coming from the eyes. No, those tears are blocking them from seeing what seva they're doing. Okay? So this Bhagavatam, again, I was very fortunate to be part of the production team. And as you know, each of the volumes of the Bhagavatam, each of the cantos has a seed verse. So the seed verse in the first canto, everybody should learn. This is very important because it explains why we go through the trouble of sitting down and speaking on Bhagavatam. So, Krishne sadhama pagate dharma jnana nibisaha kalo nashchadishangesha puranarka denodita. So this verse is explaining what is the nature of the Bhagavatam, what it's going to achieve for us. Krishne sadhama pagate. This Bhagavad Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna for his own abode, accompanied with religion, knowledge, and everything else that's good. Dharma jnana dibi saha. Kalo nashadishang. It will give light to these personalities like myself, and maybe some of you are not born ignorant, but most of us are born ignorant. That Bhagavad Purana is so brilliant that it removes this darkness of ignorance that's plaguing everybody in the Kali Yuga. So this is why we pay such importance. Now this particular part we're in, chapter 6 of the second canto, Purusha Sukta confirmed. It began earlier on by Narad Muni inquiring from Brahma. Now we're in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So we have no doubts about our genealogy. People nowadays, they like to study genealogy because they want to hear that they were related to some king or some emperor. They don't want to hear that they were related to Jack the Ripper, some mass murderer or something. Everybody wants to hear that in their family there was some queen or some king or something like that. Our genealogy is very, very simple. Whether you look on the material side or the spiritual side, we're all related because it all goes back to Brahma. So if you look on the material side, your father, his father, go back to the Prajapatis, all the way back to Brahma. And on the spiritual side, your spiritual master, my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, Gaur Kishore, all the way back to Brahma. So any way you look at it, we're a big family. Do you feel like you're related to the person next to you, even if you're not by blood related? You should feel like that. Prabhupada has created this ISKCON society, this family, so that we can come together and do just what we're doing now. Hear, chant, take prasadam. Yay. Prabhupada said, chant, dance. When you're a little tired, take some prasadam and then sit down and hear a little philosophy. That is ISKCON in a nutshell. It's not a mystery. It's not something strange or weird. Just so if every one of us is doing that individually, then we don't have any difficulty giving it to others. You see? If you're realizing, if you're tasting the sweetness of chanting Hare Krishna individually, japa, and congregationally like we were doing earlier, and you taste the sweetness of dancing in front of the deities, that is recommended. Anybody who comes and stands in front of the deity and doesn't move when the kirtan is going, no matter how nicely the mridanga player is playing, something is wrong with that person. We don't make fun of them because you have to start somewhere. Keep coming. We always say, if you're not feeling it, the medicine doesn't seem to be working, increase the dose. Instead of coming once every day, come twice a day, come 3 times a day, like that. Keep increasing the dose, and the result will be there. Just like any medication that you take, you don't know how it's working, right? You go to some kaviraj, some doctor, you have some problem, they give you some medicine, you take it, and lo and behold, you get better. You don't know exactly how it happened. So it's the same thing with bhakti. The more you come in contact with bhakti and you take the medicine, what is the medicine? The aushadhi? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Yeah, Prabhupada said, when you're sick, you go to the doctor, 2 things you get, medicine and diet. So our medicine is chanting Hare Krishna, and the diet is prasadam. Yeah, that's it. Very simple. Keep on taking prasadam, keep on chanting Hare Krishna, the material disease will disappear. So early in the previous chapter, Narad Muni, he approached Lord Brahma. Deva Deva Jagat Deva Deva Namastestu Bhuta Bhava Napurvaja Tad Bhajani Yajnanam Atma Tattva Nidarshanam. So this is how all of this is evolving now. Because Narad Muni approached Brahma. Deva Deva, O chief of the demigods, Namastestu, please accept my obeisances. Bhuta Bhavana, you're the leader of all living entities. Purvaja, self-born. In other words, he didn't have a parent, mother, and father. Tadvigjani yajnanam. Please give me that knowledge which directs one to the truth about the self, soul, and the super soul. So in answer to that, Brahma is giving all of this now. We're hearing this chapter, Purusha Sukta, where he's talking about the Virat Rupa. So all right, let us recite the verse. Actually, I like to hold the microphone. Why do I like to hold a microphone? Because as a speaker, you naturally turn your head from side to side. If the microphone is here and I go like this, then you don't hear. So I like to hold it. So it's second canto, chapter 6, Purusha Sukta confirmed. Jai Shri Radha Gopinath ki jai, Jai Shri Nashi ki jai, Jai Shri Gopinath ki jai. And text 37. So please repeat. Nahang nayuyang adriting gatim vidur. Navama deva kimuta pare suraha. Tanmayayamo hita buddhayastidam. Vinirmitang chatma samang vichakshmahe. Nahang nayuyang yadritang gating vidur. Navama deva kimuta pare suraha. Tanmaya mohita buddhayastidam. Vinirmitang chatma samang vichakshmahe. Nahang nayuyang yadritang yatim vidur. Navama deva kimuta pare suraha. Tanmaya mohita buddhayastidam. Vinirmitang chatma samang vichakshmahe. Vaishnavis?
Mayapur now. So, sorry.
I'm leaving tomorrow for Mayapur. I'll see you.
Sorry, I see you.
Okay, synonyms. Na, neither. Aham, I, na, nor, yoyam, all you sons, yat, whose, ritam, factual, gatim, movements, viduhu, do know, na, nor, Vamadeva, Lord Shiva, Kim, what, Uta, else, Apare, others, Suraha, demigods, Tat, by his, Mayaya, by the illusory energy, Mohita, bewildered, Buddhayaha, with such intelligence, to, but, idam, this, viniramitam, what is created, cha, also, atmasamam, by dint of one's personal ability, vichakshmahe, observe. Srila Prabhupada's translation for this verse. Since neither Lord Shiva nor you nor I could ascertain the limits of spiritual happiness, how can other demigods know it? And because all of us are bewildered by the illusory external energy of the Supreme Lord, we can see only this manifested cosmos according to our individual ability. Srila Prabhupada's purport. We have many times mentioned the names of 12 selected authorities, Dwadasha Mahajana, of which Brahma, Narada, and Lord Shiva head the list as the first, second, and third in order of merit of those who know something of the Supreme Lord. Other demigods, semi-demigods, Gandharvas, Charanas, Vidyadharas, human beings, or asuras cannot possibly know fully about the potencies of the Absolute Lord Sri Krishna. The demigods, semi-demigods, Gandharvas, and so on are all highly intelligent persons in the upper planets. The human beings are inhabitants of the intermediate planets, and the asuras are inhabitants of the lower planets. All of them have their respective conceptions and estimations of the absolute truth, as does the scientist or the empiric philosopher in human society. All such living entities are creatures of the material nature, and consequently, they are bewildered by the wonderful display of the three modes of material nature. Such bewilderment is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 13. Shivir Gunamayir Bhavar Ebik Sarvamidang Jagat. Every entity, beginning from Brahma down to the ant, is individually bewildered by the three modes of material nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. Everyone thinks, in terms of individual capacity, that this universe which is manifested before us is all in all. And so the scientists in the human society of the 20th century calculates the beginning and end of the universe in his own way. But what can the scientists know? Even Brahma himself was once bewildered, thinking himself the only one Brahma favored by the Lord. But later on, by the grace of the Lord, he came to know that there are innumerable more powerful Brahmas as well in far bigger universes beyond this universe. And all of these universes combined together form Ekapad Vibhuti, or 1/4 of the manifestation of the Lord's creative energy. The other 3/4 of his energy are displayed in the spiritual world. And so what can the tiny scientist with a tiny brain know of the absolute personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna? The Lord says, therefore, Mohitang nabijanati mame bhyak paramabhyayam. Bewildered by such modes of material nature, they cannot understand that beyond these manifestations is a supreme person who is the absolute controller of everything. Brahma, Narada, and Lord Shiva know about the Lord to a considerable extent, and therefore one should follow the instructions of these great personalities instead of being satisfied with a tiny brain and its playful discoveries such as spacecraft and similar products of science. As the mother is the only authority to identify the father of a child, so the Mother Vedas, presented by the recognized authorities such as Brahma, Narada, or Shiva, is the only authority to inform us about the absolute truth. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Esha Shunivani Paschatadeshtarine. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishavangsha Shri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagana Raganatan Bhatam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sayatam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Bhatangsha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhobe Evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Lord Brahma, as Prabhupada mentions in the purport, Dwadasha Mahajana is one of the 12 great authorities. Swayambhu, Narada, Shambhu, Kumara, Kapilo, Manu. Yes? Yes? No, that's the last line. What's the next line? Yeah. Prahlada, Janaka, Bhishma, and Balir, Bayasagam. Bayam. Bayam is because it's been spoken by Yamaraj. So he says, we, just as Prabhupada uses that we also in the beginning of his purport. So some people may think that's puffed up. You're an individual. Why are you referring to yourself as we? Because Prabhupada knew he was never alone. He said that, I never felt alone. Even though I came alone to the West, I'm never alone. My spiritual master is with me. Krishna is always with me. So that is the origin in the Vaishnava school of using the plural for yourself, not singular. Later on, it became a fashion amongst monarchs. They call it the royal we. Like those of you who are old enough to remember when the queen came on the throne, everything is we. We would like to thank you for. But in our tradition, that plural noun is there because we should always feel that we're never alone. We know Krishna is within the heart, and we should also feel the presence of our spiritual master wherever we go. Because, as my dear God brother Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj used to say, one should always feel that one is on a mission. We're a mission-oriented society. There is no doing your own thing. If you ever feel that you're in a space that you can do your own thing, then you're going off the rails. Once we take to the bhakti path, there's no question of doing your own thing. Everything has to be done under the guidance and at the request of authority. And that way everything keeps going smoothly. Prabhupada was able to, very quickly, 12 years, a little more than 12 years, he started from practically nothing in New York, one little storefront, to having temples and farm communities all over the globe. How is that? By systematic training. So by the time I joined, many of the devotees were just maybe a year or two ahead, and there were one or two that were around since the beginning, like Jayadvaita. Das Brahmachari at the time, he's now Jayadvaita Swami. He's the one who actually personally asked me to come and get involved in the book publication. So he was around since 26 Second Avenue. He joined right out of high school. He was, I think, 17, 16, like that. Went straight from home, straight to Prabhupada's shelter. So by hearing from such personalities, new fellows like myself, we learned very quickly how to do everything. My first service, I remember, was taking care of Tulsi. So as I said, just tasting the milk sweets is a good indicator of the bhakti of a community. Seeing how Tulsi is worshipped is also another good indicator. If you go to any temple and Tulsi looks like she's about to die, you know there's practically no bhakti here. Because we're chanting every morning to Tulsi Devi, O Tulsi, beloved of Krishna. So if Tulsi is beloved of Krishna and you don't take care of her, why would Krishna be pleased with you? So an intelligent devotee always makes sure that Tulsi is taken very nicely care of. There's a famous letter where one Mataji wrote to Prabhupada because she had been given the charge of taking care of Tulsi. So she was asking questions, how to take care, what if she gets bugs, what to do? Should we use some kind of, chemical? And the Prabhupada wrote back, he said, Tulsi is a pure devotee. There's no question of chemicals. Just keep her clean. And he said, it's actually very simple. It just requires some common sense. He said, Prabhupada wrote this, he said, if you have none, find somebody who has some. So literally, this entire bhakti process is one of common sense. It's not something weird or difficult or imported from no. It's very, and this is why in the West, so many persons from Indian background immediately flocked to ISKCON when Prabhupada started, because they knew this was not some strange cult or something. This is something that's been going on since time immemorial. My spiritual master, his spiritual master, like there's this chain through which the knowledge is disseminated, and by which the knowledge remains intact. If that's not there, sampradaya vinihinamye mantraste nishpalam matam. Your mantra, if you don't get it from a bona fide sampradaya, it will have no effect. And in the West, we have much experience of that. I grew up in New York, and I had one friend, Filipino young lady, Filipina, I should say. Her father was he was a genuine person. He was really trying to find spiritual knowledge, spiritual advancement. But his presentation, and he formed a society that attracted a lot of people. But what they were doing is taking a little bit from here, a little bit from there, and throwing it into a pot and mix it up. And so whenever, some days they would sit down and chant Om, some days they would sing some Christian hymns, and another day something else. Just hodgepodge, mix it together, and it was attractive. A lot of people came. But we're very fortunate that we're getting as it is, Bhagavad Gita as it is, Srimad Bhagavatam as it is, everything as it is, because it's coming from a bona fide source. So take advantage of that. Take advantage of hearing strictly from Srila Prabhupada. And please don't try to mix from other. That's another phenomenon that I see because I travel a lot. People come to ISKCON, they get initiated in ISKCON, but they have some attachment to some other group or even some other Vaishnava society. Don't mix it. Prabhupada set up his Vaishnava society the way he wants it to run. So, for instance, you're all pretty clean-shaven here, but Prabhupada set the example. He liked the men in his society to be clean face and clean head. He said you should shave your head at least once in a fortnight. Now, some of you are working outside, whatever. Prabhupada himself, when he was working, he had a mustache, whatever. But I'm not getting on your case. But if you're a full-time devotee in ISKCON, don't start growing it's not necessary. That's not Prabhupada's style. I know, because I work at the BBT and I have access to 10,000 or more photos of Prabhupada. That was the first thing. Prabhupada allowed himself to be photographed everywhere he went, because he knew the power of pictures. You look at a picture and immediately you get an understanding of what's going on. So Prabhupada allowed himself to be photographed in his quarters, while he's giving class, while he's on morning walks. Everything he was doing was being documented. So if you look through those thousands of pictures of Prabhupada, many of them of him sitting on a Vyasasan giving class, he never had any facial hair. None. And not even any hair on his head, maybe just a little bit growing out. Every picture of Prabhupada giving class, clean shaven, clean face. So when I asked some of the young devotees now who have taken to this style of growing hair, I said, this is not Prabhupada's style. I said, well, Gaudiya Math. I said, the Gaudiya Math doesn't have a GBC. Should we also get rid of our GBC? Bhaktisiddhanta said, and his appearance day is coming up, right, 29th, he said, I don't want any acharya to be appointed. I want you to make a governing body commission. They didn't do it. Prabhupada did it because he was following purely the instructions of his spiritual master. Whatever instructions his spiritual master gave, he presented exactly that. So we should follow Prabhupada's, that's why he's an acharya, not just acharya of written philosophy, but an acharya in how to live, how to dress, how to eat. Prabhupada set the example for everything. So I'm asking the young men as I travel, please don't fall into this and blame it on Gaudiya Math. No, Gaudiya Math has a right to do whatever they want to do. If they don't want to shave their faces, whatever. But Prabhupada set the example. Clean face, clean head. That's what he wanted his initiated devotees to do. And even if you have to wear regular clothes, because that also came up when Prabhupada was here, Prabhupada said, fine, yes. You can dress in the clothing of a gentleman of your, whatever, wherever you come from, but there always have to be two things. He said, tilak and flag. He called the sheikh a flag. So these two things have to be there. You may dress in a suit and tie, whatever, that's fine. But if you're representing ISKCON, you should have, the flag has to be there and the tilak has to be there. So Prabhupada is not against, wearing what we call non-devotional clothes. That's okay. If for the circumstance you have to do that. But if you're representing his spiritual society, then please dress the way he wants us to dress. Tilak at least has to be there. Shika has to be there. So they know that they're dealing with a Vaishnava, not just some guy in the street. Many times people ask, why you guys have to dress like this? There was one famous conversation. Some new person came and had the good fortune of taking darshan of Prabhupada and asking questions. So he said, is it really necessary to dress like this? And Prabhupada said, no, it's not absolutely necessary. But if you're a new person and you don't want to follow what the other devotees are doing, where's there any question of surrender? Bhakti is a process of surrender. If you don't even want to surrender your appearance, you're not going to surrender your heart. You see? Ultimately, bhakti means surrendering your heart to Krishna's lotus feet. So if you don't even want to surrender some hair or the kind of shirt that you wear, then where is there any question of surrendering your heart? So we should take it seriously. So everything is coming down in the cyclic succession. Brahma was approached by Narad Muni, as I said, that verse from the previous chapter. Narad Muni wanted to know, Tad vijani yajnanam atma tattva nidarshanam. Please give me that knowledge that specifically directs one to understanding the self and the supreme self, the soul and the super soul. So that's our good fortune. By hearing from A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, we are being specifically directed to knowledge about the self and the supreme self. And if a person doesn't know themselves, even in ordinary dealings, we say that he's pagla, he's mad. If you ask somebody, who are you? And he says, I'm Jesus Christ. And maybe you're dealing with a crazy person. So the average person doesn't know who they are. They immediately give you some information about the body. I was born in such and such place. I was born in Bihar, therefore I consider myself. Or I'm born in Bengal, so I'm Bengali. No, we're not Bengali or Marathi or this. We are Krishna's eternal servants. Jivera Swarupahai, Krishnera Nityadas. Every one of us. So we have to give up the designations. Sarvopadi Vinir Mukta. Give up all these designations. Even man, woman. Where I'm serving in New Dwarka, the last 30 years I've been there. Our temple president, some of you may have met Subhas Das. He and his wife, Tadi Dasi. They've been married for a long time. So I was told that one time they went to some Brigu reader, and this Brigu reader told them they had been husband and wife for the last 5 lifetimes. But they switched roles. So the husband in this lifetime becomes the wife in the next lifetime. And you can see it. You can see it not just in their case. I mean, there's so many cases. And similarly, the children. It's not by accident that you have the child that you have or you have the parents that you have. It's all arranged. It's all arranged. Another example, one of my dear God brothers, I keep saying gone because so many of them are gone, and Gyanagami Prabhu and his good wife Mahamaya, who is still with us. So they have a son, Rasacharya. And although they're both American, they went to London to serve, and the son was born there. So they noticed from an early age that he had musical talent, pretty prominent musical talent. So they took him to some past life, somebody who does past life regression. And the story was, I mean, I cannot prove it, but this was a story that came out of the session, was that he was a lawyer, a British lawyer in his previous life, who took an attraction to reading Vedas. So you can see, passed away, but that attraction to Vedas remained. So his parents were selected so that they could be born into ISKCON and read Vedas. This is the sum and substance of Vedic literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. So nothing is happening accidentally. There's a nice verse in the 10th canto that explains that. It says, Eka prashuyate jantur, eka esha praliyate, ekona bhungte sukritam, eka esha cha dushkritam. Everyone, eka, one. Everyone is born alone, dies alone, and alone has to enjoy or suffer the reactions to their good and bad deeds. So that's everybody's situation. Everything that we've done in the past, we have to deal with the results in the future. And therefore, Krishna conscious life is very, very responsible life. Very, very responsible. Learning how to live responsibly. What to do, what not to do. This is the beginning of any yoga system, yamna yama. Learning what is to be done and learning what to avoid. What to do, what not to do. And anybody who's not interested in being trained to do what's right and to not do what's wrong, they're a demon, asura. Like it's mentioned here, so many classes of living beings. The demigods, the semi-demigods, the charanas, the vidyadharas, the gandharvas, etc. So they're also asuras. People who just don't care. They want to do whatever they want at any time. So Krishna mentions that in the 16th chapter. Pravritim cha nivritim cha jana nabidurasura. Nasocham, napichacharo. Nasatyam teshu vidyate. These are the symptoms of somebody who has an asuric mentality. Pravritim cha nivritim cha. They don't know what to do, what not to do. Jana nabidurasura. Nasocham, they're not clean. Napichachari, they don't have any good behavior. Nasatyam, they're not truthful. So this is how you can see, and we have to first of all look at ourselves before we start examining everybody else. The Vedic literature, the Guru is meant for us to be introspective. First of all, look at myself. Am I clean? Am I truthful? Do I always want to do the right thing and avoid doing the wrong thing? You see? So first of all, give the litmus test to ourselves. And if we are fortunate and not allow ourselves to be diverted by the three modes of nature, as mentioned in today's purport, then very quickly, we make progress on the spiritual path. Like I said, it's not rocket science. It's not extremely difficult. It's just a little bit of austerity, which is good for us. Following the regulative principles, that's good for us. Every one of those regulative principles is absolutely good for everyone. So, again, please take advantage of this great movement that Prabhupada started. Pray to Shri Radha Gopinath for the strength to keep making positive progress. Prabhupada said in New Dwarka, he said that, we have our Rukmini Dwarkadish, deities there. He said you should come before the deities. The point he was making is this, that Krishna is ready to talk to you, but are you ready to hear? Are you ready to converse with Krishna? Or are we standing there still asking for material benefits? So he said you should go before the deities and say, Sir, that's how Prabhupada said it. He didn't say, my Lord. He said, you should go before the deities with folded hand and say, Sir, this is my problem, and explain. Krishna already knows. They know everything about you for a lifetime, since time immemorial. But it's a way of connection. Yoga means to connect. So you come before the deities, and to connect with them, you reveal your heart, you reveal your mind. And you can't cheat Krishna. This is one of the things we learned very early in my ISKCON days. You can fool some of the people all of the time. You can fool all of the people some of the time. But you can't fool Krishna even one time. So don't try. Be honest in front of the deities. This is my problem, whatever the problem is. And Krishna wants us. This is the thing. Krishna is the Supreme Father, and he wants his children all to be happy and to come back to him in the three-part vibhuti. Instead of staying here in the Ekapad vibhuti, he wants us all to come back to the spiritual world. We're our own worst enemies. This is why we stay here. In spite of evidence that you can't be happy here in this material world, still, Krishna says, Dukkalayama Shashvatam, temporary, miserable. But foolishly we want to prove Krishna wrong. If I just get enough lakhs and crores of rupees, I'll be happy. No, never be happy. Many of you know of or have heard of, oh my God, Brother Ambarish, right? Ambarish, Alfred Ford, you've heard of him? So one time we were together in Mayapur. I'm going to Mayapur actually tomorrow. And he said, there's a saying in English that money can't buy happiness. Have you heard that? Money can't buy happiness. So he said, the poor people hope that it's true because they don't want the rich people to be happy. And the rich people know that it's true because they have money and they're not happy. So why do people still chase after money, money, money? Even though there's so much evidence, right? That people are not happy by having so much money. So, dear devotees, don't go down that path. Yes, one has to live responsibly. If you have wife, children, you have to, but whatever comes naturally. Quite often when I travel, devotees ask me, Prabhu, what is over-endeavor? Because they've heard that term. Don't over-endeavor. So what is over-endeavor? So the simple definition of over-endeavor is if you're involved in so many things that you don't have time to chant nicely, to hear nicely, come to the temple, then you're over-endeavoring. Whatever you're doing in life, whether you're a student or a teacher or a business person, should not interfere with your basic spiritual practice. Chanting your 16 rounds, getting up early. If you live close to the temple, come to Mangalarti here. If you don't, then do Mangalarti at home. These things are the basis of our advancement. So if anything starts to interfere with that, you can't chant your rounds nicely, you can't find time to read, you can't associate nicely with devotees, you can't come and see Bhagavan in the temple, then you're over-endeavoring. And you have to make some adjustments. Okay? What time is it? Like I said, I can talk forever, so all right, we're getting close to the end. I'll stop here if there are any questions. I think we're supposed to end at 10:45, right? It's 10:32. So we have a few minutes for some questions, yes? Yes.
My question is, for the past 25 years, I'm in Krishna conscious movement, and the formative years in Krishna conscious, my parents were very much against this Krishna conscious the process, and they didn't knew what is Krishna consciousness, and so many children who come in Krishna consciousness, they face the same doubt, like what they are children are doing Krishna consciousness in Krishna consciousness means what their child is doing there. So why this is there? I mean, Adnat Sukruti is there for the child, but those parents are from some karmic, they don't know, like they are come from some karmic, they are not in that process. Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad Maharaj, some that type of relationship. So in that case, what type? So in that type case, what do the child do, and how do they behave with their parents in that case?
Hare Krishna. Yes, that's a good question. I like in my own case, my parents had no idea what is this all about. It seemed very, very strange. But they had enough faith in me as an individual that it's not something horrible, even though they didn't understand. You could say, contract with my parents was, if you get good grades in school, we leave you alone. So I took advantage of that. I maintained good grades, and I got in. I'm talking about before coming to Krishna. I joined when I was 21. So I'm talking prior to that. I was maintaining good grades in school, but they had no idea what hellish stuff I was doing. Just keep the grades. Unlike my older sister, I'm a middle child. I have a younger sister, older sister. So the older sister, she had more of a combative personality. She would fight with my parents constantly because they had, they had a grip on her. They didn't want her to go out just anywhere with anybody, and she was chafing at the bit. Why he can go? So the contract they made with her is that wherever you go, he has to go with you. So the point is, in Kali Yuga, ignorance is rampant. That's why we recited that verse in the beginning. Krishna Sudamo Pagate. Everybody's ignorant. Kalo Sudra Sambhava. In Kali Yuga, everybody's born Sudra. Sanskara Bhavet Dvija. By following proper sanskars, one can be made into a Brahmana. So without that, your parents may be well-intentioned. Mine were very well-intentioned, but they were ignorant of what is the ultimate goal of life and how to achieve it. My mother was a very, very staunch Christian, and over time, she's gone now, but she came to like devotees. She said, I like you people, you're very nice. Your prasadam is very nice. But she just thinks that we made the wrong spiritual choice, because for her, Christianity was the way. So they may be well-intentioned. Father, mother generally are well-intentioned. They want the best for the children, but they don't know themselves what is the best. Prabhupada used to say, the parents, the whole life, they work hard and they make money and they buy a house and car and this and that, and they're not happy. But if the child says, I can see you people are not happy, I want to become a Hare Krishna. No. Stay and do the same thing that we're doing. But you're not happy. No. We're very happy. So don't be like that. You see? The prime responsibility of a human being is to qualify themselves to go back to Godhead. You can do that and fulfill your material responsibilities. This is what our acharyas have shown. Srila Prabhupada got married, he had children, he had a job, he was running pharmaceutical business. So you can have business, but all of his customers, later on when after Prabhupada left and his disciples were going back around where he went to different cities and interviewing people, they said, yes, we remember Bhaktivedanta Swami. But what they remembered more about him is not his business. They remembered his bhakti. He was always talking about Krishna, something about Krishna. So ultimately, now you're an adult, you're responsible for your life. If it aligns with your parents' expectations, great. If it doesn't, still, you have to do what's right for you. It doesn't mean neglecting the parents. It doesn't mean being mean to them, which is something that we did. Because we were so immersed in material consciousness that the only way we could make a clean break was to shun the parents. So devotees of my era, we were very heavy on the parents. You're meat-eating demons. We don't want to hear from you. Leave us alone. That's not good. That's not good. If all they want to talk about is the weather, talk about the weather. See? Don't force them into Krishna philosophy. Have discussions about it. It just creates more animosity and tension. So if your mom calls you up, hello, sweetheart, how's the weather in Chowpatty? You tell her, weather is nice. Are you eating nicely? Yes. Pleasant. Keep a pleasant relationship. Because just by being related to you, as we know from the Prahlad story, if you become a pure devotee of the Lord, then so many generations forward and backward will be liberated. So you don't have to fight with them and just quietly continue with your Krishna consciousness, whether they understand or they don't understand. Okay? I think we have time for maybe one more. Yes?
Hare Krishna.
Hare.
So as you were mentioning about the attire, that one who's representing Prabhupada's mission and ISKCON in general, then he should actually at least shave his head and wear proper attire because he's representing. But if we see in a new generation, when we try to tell them about this, so they have heard little bit philosophy, so they say it's all about internal, it's all about intention. Why you want to put it outside? If I'm practicing everything nicely, internally I'm practicing, so why there is need to put it outside in an external way. So how we can address them?
Yeah. Yena kena pakarena. Somehow or other you get people attached to the process. So again, we don't fight over these kind of things. If somebody's attached to chanting Hare Krishna, wonderful. If they're not ready to follow every single step and every single recommendation, we don't, again, fight. Because if they're already initiated, then it's the Guru's business to make sure they follow Prabhupada. Because if Guru in ISKCON means that the Prabhupada's disciple, and there should be, although some other next generation are already initiating, some of them, like in China and Russia. But so it's the Guru's responsibility to make them follow Prabhupada's way. In other words, if somebody's not your disciple, don't get into a fight with them about anything, as far as possible. Just avoid it. And if it's so important, then take the matter to their authority. One should not get into clashes in ISKCON. Don't take it upon yourself, especially when new people come. They're usually assigned to a Bhakti leader, right, or a Bhakti leader. So if you see a new person doing something that is not proper, you go and tell the leader and let them take care of it. You should try to maintain pleasant relationships with everybody. Sorry. Being a leader, being an authority is a very heavy responsibility. It's a very heavy seva. But it's necessary. Somebody has to take it up. So if you haven't taken it up, then don't get involved. Just pass it on to the next personality. And yes, bhakti is internal, obviously, but the externals are also important. Prabhupada said that. It's just like, why do policemen wear uniforms? So people know, here is an authority. If something is wrong, crime is happening, I call a policeman, not a tailor or a, veggie walla, like that. You find a policeman. So we dress like this so that persons who are inclined to spirituality, they can see, here's a Hare Krishna person. I've heard good things about Hare Krishna. I'll give you an example. Just like recently, I bought a car, a used car, from a gentleman, very successful. He has his own medical supply business and whatnot. So in the course of our conversation, I told him, he asked, well, what do you do? I said, I'm a spiritual trainer. I travel around the world training people in spirituality. And then my phone came on and he saw. Can everybody see? So he said, if you're a spiritual trainer, why do you have a picture of this demon on your phone? So I said, he's not a demon. He's a demon killer. So the guy, I can see it was all Krishna's arrangement because I had in my mind to buy a different car from somebody else. But some or other, he kept contacting me and we wound up together and I bought his car. Turns out, again, successful businessman, but his son, 25-year-old, who was his right-hand man in his company, died in a motorcycle accident. So the guy is completely devastated, Actually, he didn't tell me right away. I sensed right away something is not right with this person, something heavy. So he's, again, big businessman. So instead of showing me the car himself, he had one of his employees take me for a ride in the car, show me the car like that. So while I was driving the car with the employee told me what happened. It was funny. He said to me, I like being with you. I just met you, but I like being with you because you're so calm. He said, my boss, he's just everywhere, just bouncing off the wall like that. So later on, maybe the boy told him or whatever, so then he revealed to me what his state of mind was. So I gave him books. I gave him what I call my spiritual trainee stack. Chant and Be Happy, Higher Taste, Science of Self-Realization, Bhagavad Gita. And I told him, I said, I'm going to India in a few days. You read these books. When I come back, we'll connect. So he was very happy. He also said the same thing. He said, I don't know you, but all of a sudden I just feel very comfortable in your company, and I would like to learn more. So if I hadn't been dressed like a devotee, I went dressed like a devotee with my tilak, even though I'm out buying a car. Tilak and everything. So he knew right away what he was dealing with. So that's the benefit of dressing the way we do. It's not absolutely necessary. And like Bhaktivinoda Thakur's song, that some devotees, they couldn't openly chant Hare Krishna, but within their minds they were chanting. So in your own individual situation, you may not be able to openly go to work wearing tilak, but if you can, why not? There's a story Prabhupada told of a business that was owned by Hindu person, and then a Muslim guy bought the business. And he told the employees, he said, as of next week, I don't want anyone coming here dressed like a Hindu. No more dhoti and this kind of stuff. So after 1 week, everybody came to work, and only one guy was bold enough. He came in his dhoti and his Hindu dress. And the owner said, since you're so bold, you can do it, but nobody else is allowed. So why not be bold? What do we have to lose? You see, especially here in India. In India, everybody's following some spiritual path or the other. So why should ISKCON devotees hide? Absolutely no reason. And if it's so difficult to get a job dressed as a devotee, make your own business. I tell the devotees in America all the time, because so many IT experts come to America from India. I said, why are you guys working for Google and Yahoo and all these companies? Make your own company. But they're afraid, because they may have to go through some rough times. You work for Google, Yahoo, you get big salary right away. But when Lord Chaitanya was asked, how do we know who is a Vaishnava? What was his answer? Who knows? Some of our Sanskrit or Bengali big brains here, you should know this verse.
One who chants Hare Krishna Mahamantra even once.
That's one thing, but
then next time he says, who always chants Holy Name to them.
No, you're losing the track here. A Vaishnava Sangatyaga, a Vaishnava Prachar. Sri Sangu Sangha Eka Sadhu, Krishna Bhakta art. That's a Vaishnava who does not want to associate with non-devotees. A Vaishnava Sangatyaga, give up. A Vaishnava Prachar. So if we're really making progress, this is how we test. I don't want to hang out with non-devotees, even if I'm related to them. I want to always be with the devotees. Chant Hare Krishna, take prasadam together, discuss Krishna's pastimes together. That's a Vaishnava. Sri Sangi, Eka Sadhu, Krishna Bhakta. Not chasing after sense gratification, just want to be with the devotees. That's a Vaishnava. So that's how we should think. I want to be a Vaishnava. I want to dress like a Vaishnava. I want to engage in Vaishnava activities. It's so nice. You walk around here, everybody's doing some seva, making garlands, cooking. That's Vaishnava community. Or taking advantage of modern, like internet. Somebody's putting nice information on the internet or forming some WhatsApp group or whatever. That's also okay. I guess Prabhupada said, we're not afraid of technology. We're not afraid of technological progress. Use it in Christian service. Okay? All right, I have to run back to Juhu, and so nice to have your association. May Shishi Radha Gopinath bless all of you to make rapid progress on the way back to home, back to Godhead. Rantarachman Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, would like to thank His Grace Archita Prabhu for this really enlightening class. Prabhuji has shared his own realizations, how he served Srila Prabhupada mission, and really enthused all of us. So let us express our gratitude by loudly chanting 3 times. Haribo! 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 His Grace Archita Prabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.